This Torah class is brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.
Okay, Shalom Aleichem everyone, Bruchim Haboim. There's just some closing thoughts on the Iggeres HaRamban. Tomorrow there will not be a shir. Actually, the Wednesday night shir this week is Thursday night for Lag BaOmer. So just keep that in mind. This week the shir is Thursday evening. And there's no Iggeres HaRamban tomorrow. And Bez Hashem, next Monday we'll start the new limud. Okay, so just some closing thoughts on the Iggeres HaRamban. First, I want to tell you that the Chida in the Shem HaGdolim, he writes that the letter the Ramban wrote to his son, Rav Nachman, the Ramban's name was Moshe ben Nachman. He had a son, Nachman. And the Chida says this letter regarding Kedusha and humility and the promise that on the day that it's read, he'll be answered in Hashamayim, and the Chachmei Musar, they are mazir to read it occasionally, that the Chida writes, in the holy words of the Ramban, he pierces the heart. He allows us to understand that the whole world is full of the kavod of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And how could a person value himself, so to speak, in such... And the Chida says, Kavachomer in a Dar Yasaim, that he says in our generation, humility is not even possible. Humility is when a person is great and they humble themselves. Our generation is not even eligible for humility. Our generation is not even on the madrega to even have humility. We can only try to recognize a little bit our meager value. Now, I just want to share with you, in the Perush on the Iggeres HaRamban, it's a Perush we have not brought yet, called Pesach Eliyah, Rabbi Kohen, he brings that he was learning the Ramban with Talmidim, and he was explaining to them that the Ramban Sefer is really a program of Aliyah and a program of elevation, similar to what we learned from the Perush, the Oyel Yaakov, where the Ramban first tells us how to acquire humility. He talks about the disparagement of Gaiva, how to practice humility, and then the B'darchei HaAvodah. And the Talmidim asked, who says the Ramban is giving such a methodological approach and such a systematic approach? Maybe the Ramban is just telling his son a few nice ideas. What right do we have to be so exacting in the structure of what the Ramban is saying? And Pesach Eliyah quotes a line from Reb Volba in the Alei Shur. The Alei Shur writes that a person has to establish for himself a program in Avodas Hashem, like the Ramban did in the ladder that he composed for his son, and the Ramchal did with the ladder of Reb Pinchas ben Yair. So here we see in the words of Reb Volba that the Sefer Iggeres HaRamban, the compilation of Iggeres HaRamban, is not just a collection of ideas, but it's literally a systematic program of Aliyah in Avodas Hashem. And Rabbi Eliyah HaKohen, he says that he was very pleased that one of his students was doing research on the Iggeres HaRamban, and he investigated various repositories of manuscript, and he found one of the first texts of the Ramban in Oxford University, in the Bodleian library. And the Iggeres HaRamban begins with a little bit of an introduction, that we haven't seen yet. This is what appears in the Oxford Bodleian library. B'ni Nachman hane'eman li. My faithful son Nachman, ma'oid zachar tamid. Always remember, ma'asai asher ra'isa. My actions that you saw, ba'amoid cha'iti. When you stood with me, v'nisei kel. And the miracles of God. V'nifla'oisav and his wonders, asher hayu imadi. That were with me, ushmaya gadol asher kidesh. Al Yadi, and how God's name was sanctified through the salvations He brought to me. Bekama nisim asher ro'inecha, with the many miracles that your eyes saw. Va'ata b'ni, and now my son, hashe ve'libcha. Think about, b'mei yizke ha'adam, how could a person merit, ba'asher ra'isa alai, in that what you saw about me. In other words, he tells his son, frankly, you saw many miracles happen to me. Why do you think that is? Why do you think I was zoicha to so many miraculous salvations? Think about it. With what is a person zoicha? The Ramban is being very frank with his son. Why was I zoicha to miracles? You know why? Alkein tisnahig tamid ledaber kol dvarecha benachas. And he tells him the holy Iggeres HaRamban. So here we found a treasure in the Bodleian library, that the Ramban is telling his son that all my miraculous life events, it's not that I'm some superstitious wonder worker. It's because of the midos tovos that I spent my life working on. So this gives us a very definitive picture that the Iggeres HaRamban is a way of elevating oneself to be zoicha to great madregos and great aliyos and a miraculous salvations from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. One final thought, and that is the foundation of this letter is perfecting your heart, preparing your heart, that it should be pure and clean from any stains and any midah till you reach Hashras Hashchina. Says the Rebbe Kohen, the word, the most oft repeated word in the Iggeres HaRamban is the word leiv, that appears 14 times. Yale al libcha v'taher libcha. So that is the yesod of this Iggeres, to prepare your heart in our tefillah, in our avodah, in our dibur, and especially in the midah of anivos. And in that merit, the Ramban is hoping that his son Nachman and all of his children, all of his Talmidim and all of Klal Yisrael could elevate themselves through this aliyah and through this sulam to be eligible to nisim and aflois the way the Ramban was zoicha to. And this sort of archaeological find really gives us a new perspective of the Iggeres. On that note, we're going to conclude. I hope everyone will join us tomorrow. We're off. And we're going to, Be'ez Hashem, start the new limud. We'll see what that will be, Be'ez Hashem, Monday. Okay, bracha v'hatzlacha, everyone. V'chol tov. Have a great day.
You've just experienced another Torah class brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.